The joys of broadcasting live on the internet. Welcome to the Championship Check-In podcast. With 3 technical difficulties this week, we apologise to those people on YouTube. We are slightly behind, although you won't even know that if you're listening on audio. Welcome, Mr. Sam Parkin. Are you less stressed than me?
I'm fine, mate. Yeah. Safely navigated the English motorways over the weekend at Bolton or yesterday and back down last night. Long way for no goals, 0-0, Bolton v Wrexham. But plenty to talk about. Brilliant crowd, 25,000. Great atmosphere. So we could very well be talking about one or both of those teams next season, possibly.
And they could be joining our current slate of championship teams who have just completed round 2 in the 24-25 season. If you are watching live here on YouTube, get your views, your comments in. If we have time, we might be able to do the odd question at the end as well. Sam, this round, it was Coventry 3, Oxford 2 on Friday night. Early Saturday, Derby 1, Borough 0, Pompey 0, Luton 0. And West Brom 0, Leeds 0, speaking of lack of goals in the 12:30s. But we're going to make up for that with Bristol City 4, Millwall 3, Burnley 5, Cardiff 0, Norwich 2, Blackburn 2. Just the 16 goals in those 3 games. I've added that up, right? Plymouth 1, Hull 1, Sheffield United 2, QPR 2, Swansea 3, Preston 0, Watford 3, Stoke 0. And on Sunday, bit of a shocker, considering what we've been saying the past couple of weeks, Sunderland 4, Sheffield Wednesday 0. And we are all set for Parkin's pick. Oh, bloody week, Sam. I'm hearing, why didn't you talk about Burnley last week? Well, the space-time continuum meant that we broadcasted at Monday lunchtime last week, and Burnley played on Monday night and beat Luton 4-1. And they followed that up with a 5-0 win over Cardiff this round. So, Sam, this week, Parkin's pick is Burnley, and is Scott Parker already proving the doubt was wrong again?
I better get an apology into Sunderland fans here, shouldn't I? Even though we're going to talk about them later.
We'll talk about them later.
Yeah. I think Burnley obviously were brilliant at Kenilworth Road, or certainly very, very clinical. That aspect of the game was definitely there again at the weekend. I mean, I can't remember a game like this, can you, Ben? I mean, at any level. I mean, to win 5-0 and have, supporters and neutrals and everyone suggesting that Cardiff could have won that game is just bizarre. I think Burnley improved second half, no question, but 3-0 at half-time, 2-0, sorry, was it at half-time? I mean, it absolutely flattered the life out of them. Cardiff had 2 very presentable opportunities. Bizarre to see Burnley give up so much of the ball and an opposition team have so much possession. But I suppose that's an indication of how Bullett's going to want to go with Cardiff, but also that Scott Parker's not going to be as obsessive as his previous manager at Burnley was about keeping the ball and about dictating, getting a stranglehold. So it was bizarre. It was absolutely bizarre. I think they did change a little bit in the second half, Burnley. My take on it was that Rodriguez probably just helped out the midfield too a little bit more, because that's where Cardiff had the upper hand. They were dominating the ball. They were popping it around. I think Cardiff probably lost a little bit when rules went off for them, and they had to shuffle their pack as well. But I think it was probably just some little tactical adjustments that gave them a bit more control, Burnley, in the second half. Large helping hand from the goalkeeper, I think, for 3. Is that fair?
Mate, that first one.
Yeah, the second, I think he's got to do better, having got a large chunk of the ball, and the third one lost his bearings. So not his day, not their day in front of goal. They'll have much better days. But yeah, I mean, Scott Parker laying down a little bit of a marker, and early doors, but great mouth-watering game to tease what we're going to talk about later to come at the weekend. So yeah, I mean, just incredible. The statistics, I won't go over the XG. You can do that if you want, but 10 shots on target across the 2 games, scored 9 goals. I mean, that
Wow.
says it all. Yeah.
Absolutely sensational. And this type of thing at the start of the season, we always have this conversation, Sam, about the adjustment, even though we think that the players sometimes too good for the level and the manager knows what he's doing. The club has been promoted before. +8 goal difference and 6 points off the first 2 games. That can send you on a run. And we talk about getting to that 20-point mark. Can you do it within the first 10 games, 9 games even? And it's such a big thing to make a start like this. However strange the if you can have a fortuitous 5-0 win is.
Yeah, and there was so much commotion with the relegated sides at the start of last season, Ben. Like, if we remember back, I think a topic of our conversation the first few weeks was who's in the best nick, who's the most disrupted. Well, Burnley are going to have to navigate some troubled waters as well. I think there's still obviously large interest in Sanderberg, who is still at the club, I think, at the moment now. He'll come into the reckoning in that midfield trio. I'm sure if they're going to be a little bit more conservative, because they went with the 2 strikers at the weekend. They've lost Odobert, haven't they, in the last few days?
Came out of nowhere, didn't it?
A little bit, yeah. Although I was present for the one he smashed in from 25 yards at Craven Cottage last season, so I'd marked his card. But yeah, a little bit out of left field, the magnitude of that move. But yeah, it's a terrific start for them. And the other point I wanted to make: 7 different scorers. And when we were on various mediums making predictions in the last few weeks, I quite fancied old Foster to bag a few for Burnley this year. Not got up and running as of yet, so I think that's a positive. That's a positive, because I think he's a decent player, Foster, when I saw him last season. But spreading the goals around, I'm sure we'll talk about Amdouni's cracker in a few moments. But yeah, they've started fast, albeit the performance wasn't great at the weekend.
Yeah, can't say fairer than that. And it's one that I'm sure the Scott Parker debate will be revisited during the season, but there's no argument after the first 2 games, is there?
What can't be debated is that he's a very smart bomber jacket. And apologies if I said that on this podcast last week.
Quid. Did you see the tweets about it? Jesus Christ. Sam, we cannot, look, we're going to talk about Sunderland later, spoiler alert. We cannot not mention Watford just quickly. Who had Watford getting 6 points from the first 2 games? How about that? Well played, Tom Cleverley.
Yeah, I probably didn't have them getting 6 points. However, I think if we replay what I did say a couple of weeks ago, I didn't have them in trouble, Watford. No. I think they got too many good players. Yeah, it's a rookie manager, but that squad, I haven't got the numbers in front of me, but there's enough talent in that squad, even if they're going to be inconsistent, to produce enough points and enough results to stay well away from trouble. I think they probably still need a centre forward, an additional centre forward, albeit the current options aren't the worst. Chakvatadze's had a really good start to the season. Kayembo with a couple of goals looks like a different player. And they were a bit patched up defensively as well. And the first half sounded like it was terrible against Stoke, but absolutely blew them away in the second half. And all of a sudden, Watford are looking like a team. And that's music, I'm sure, to the Watford fans' ears. So great start. 3 wins, isn't it? With a thumping win in the EFL Cup as well. So, yeah, very, very early. But, yeah, I'm hopeful that Watford can have a positive season.
So Parkin's pick this week has to be Burnley, but little shout out to Watford. And we're going to talk about Sunderland later. Sam, this week, I know we've taken it off the menu. I have to bring back Meltdown Moment. We could do 2 segments on Meltdown Moments, Sam. I'm going to talk about back passes later, but a couple of red cards that went a little bit viral, especially Thomas Kaminski, the Luton goalkeeper. I always remember Roy Keane saying a lot of these serious foul play red cards are when you're chasing a mistake you've just made. You've had a heavy touch or whatever, and you try and correct and you dive in. Thomas Kaminski could have been red carded 4 times, I think, in in 10 seconds. He denied a goal scoring opportunity, possibly. He possibly committed serious foul play, and then he did it all over again on a second player. And one of your lads at QPR, Jack Colback, who should know better, I think it was a second yellow, wasn't it, for dissent. Strangely, neither of those teams lost the game they were in. John Massinio, actually, from a Portsmouth managerial point of view, said it ruined their game plan. They were set up to go against Luton pressing in a certain way, and they didn't press like that. So he was like, oh, a bit stuck now for what to do. QPR obviously got the equaliser. What did Thomas Kaminski get sent off for, first of all?
Oh, God. Sorry, I should have listened more intently when the referees were speaking to us.
Yeah, right.
Various meetings.
Could have been any number
week.
Of things.
It could have been any number of them. It was the second yellow, wasn't it? I did watch it back this morning. So I don't know. There'll be Pompey fans screaming maybe at their screens here. But yeah, I mean, Luton were penalised for time wasting, weren't they? Before the red card. And Rob Edwards spoke of, he wants his defenders, he wants his goalkeeper to entice that press on. That's a part of the game plan.
So
which
there's a big gap to play that ball into that Burnley found as well, didn't they?
Yeah, or whatever the passing sequence that they've worked on in training is, whoever the player is that gets freed up, that's a big part of the modern game, enticing. So I find it hard to believe that Luton were wasting time early on in the game. In terms of the collision, I think it's Paddy Lane and Ogilvie that get taken out. It's just completely unnecessary, isn't it, from the goalkeeper, from a top goalkeeper as well. And as you said, it put his team under enormous pressure, albeit they dealt with the situation brilliantly. I think, Luton in a back four is probably quite an unfamiliar sight, but they looked pretty good, pretty well organised, and the old cliche, hard to play against 10 on occasion. So it probably did ruin the game because, it ruined the game from the perspective of Portsmouth's game plan, from their point of view, but also a lot of chances as well went begging in the early part of that game. Luton started well. Morris had that one-on-one, couple of other chances for Adebayo. So it looked like it was probably going to be goals and probably be a bit of a thriller. And unfortunately, that's quelled by a moment of madness from the goalkeeper.
And what about your boys? Yeah, some limbs in the away end there. That looked a complete dead loss, didn't it? But yeah, give me the Sheffield United angle as well. They're going to be so annoyed at not winning that, aren't they?
So annoyed, yeah. I mean, incredibly. Yeah, I mean, QPR aren't a bad side. Let's get that right straight away. And I think you have to remember that despite the opening day defeat against West Brom in a limp hour or whatever it was at the weekend. But they got a good manager. They've got some new additions who will improve them. And Lyndon Dykes scored a brilliant goal. But yeah, you're in such a commanding position, playing some lovely stuff, Sheffield United. They're going to take a little bit of time to mould together. The old Coventry connection coming to the fore in this one. O'Hare looking the part. Hamer, another one that I've flagged, I think, Ben, in the last few weeks. He could be the old player of the year if he sticks around, I'm sure, in the Championship, doing the business again. But Colback, again, putting his side under pressure. It seemed to be something to do with one of the United players brandishing a yellow card. And Colback saying to the officials, "You got to book him," losing his head. And he subsequently got 2 yellows in quick succession. So could have been incredibly costly given they lost the opening game and were chasing a deficit here. But brilliant goal from Lyndon Dykes. And that should be QPR up and running now, you would think.
I agree. Right, guys, Worldie of the Week time. Get involved in the comments. Sam is going to pick the winner. I'm going to give you a little bit of help because the poll at the moment, Sam, says Duncan Watmore, 19%. Is it Fali Mayulu? Sorry if I've got his first name wrong there. 18%. Amdouni of Burnley, 44%. Ahashi of Blackburn, 11%. And Coyle of Hull, 9% of the vote. Let us know who your Worldie of the Week is in the chat. And as always, at this point, remember, there are 23 other teams in the Championship other than the one you support and vote for their goal every week. Sam, you're a professional footballer. Give us the right answer here. What is the
Controversial. Controversy was the word I was looking for, I think, today. I think it was a bit of a vintage week,
Yeah, it
wasn't
was
it?
good, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you mentioned, did you mention Watmore there?
Yeah, what more cushion volley, yeah.
Sargent's finish on his left side, lovely.
Spank.
All the aforementioned. I'll give you my top two. I'm going to go Amdouni second. Reason being, if that goes in the roof of the net, off the underside of the bar, bounces down and into the roof of the net, aesthetically,
Purist, yeah.
that's a lot more pleasing, isn't it? I can't give it to a goal where the ball doesn't go in the net. I just can't do it.
No.
As beautiful it was. So I'm going to have to go for our Bristol City friend and colleague and quizmaster. I'm going to go for Mayoulu. I'm going to do it.
So a bit of a Colin York link up. It's a great goal and he scored 2 weeks running. But I'm immediately going to spin you a little bit towards Millwall, Sam, because what is your conclusion on a team that has now twice gone 2-0 down, twice got back in the game, and in this instance actually taken the lead, and twice ended up losing? Where are you? What the hell do you conclude out of that?
Where am I with them, or where am I with how the lads are feeling this morning? Because very low, I would suggest. And Neil Harris wasn't happy, was he, after the game? I saw some of his post-match comments. So, yeah, he's disappointed, I think, with the help he's getting. We know there's been, obviously, changes within the hierarchy. I think we spoke of that maybe on the preview podcast at the club. And people just getting their feet under the table and probably identifying targets. I'm sure they're going to move. Tanganga's a problem as well. He's missed the first two and is going to miss another game, I think, after that straight red, or maybe that's him done now. But he really came to the fore towards the tail end of last season. But what they can be pleased about is, of course, the spirit and the fight, everything that Neil Harris will, demand from his players. But that's a real sickener at the weekend after getting themselves into a position to take points against Watford. That's a sore one for them to take. But yeah, Mayoulu's goal in terms of the invention, the awareness of Bird. It was Bird, wasn't it? I think I had to double check that. He was sporting the number 6, Max Bird, I think, on his shirt. But lovely exchange. I just love when, there's that chemistry between midfield, attacker, two front players, whatever it is, that kind of awareness of where your mate is. It was sublime. Yeah, lovely goal. And just pips it for me from Amdouni just purely for the team ethic there.
Just quickly, Sam, would you rather talk to me about Norwich, Blackburn or Plymouth Hull?
Well, Norwich, Blackburn, I called on the nose, didn't I?
We'll get into that in the prediction show. But yeah, 2 goals in our Worldie of the Week there with Ahashi's diving header and you mentioned Sargent's Thronker there. I kind of had that down as both sides take a point in that Blackburn had just sold Smodic and Norwich had a bad start. But Norwich looked like they had that one after they got it back to 2-1, didn't they? So probably be disappointed.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that, really hindered them a few seasons ago. But I think Carrow Road's got to be where they get the majority of their points this season. Sargent, I don't think there'll be any surprise if he's in the higher echelons of the goal scoring charts this season. The Johnny Rowe kind of saga wrangles on. There's still they've
done well, Sam, to quiet that down and pour water on it, haven't they?
A little bit, but I just think it won't go away with what's happening at Ellen Road. I'm sure he's a prime target for them. But I think Blackburn, in terms of a club doing quite a lot of business early, Ahashi immediately is looking like a brilliant bit of business, and that could have been such a disappointing weekend and subsequent few days, given that Sammy Smodics has moved on. But to respond with a result like that, let's get it right. 2 performances and 2 results that you probably wouldn't expect from John Eustace or associate with his sides. It looks like Blackburn have signed some real good attacking players, and they're going to be a good watch this season, which will be, I'm sure, what the fans hope for, because they were used to it under John Dale Thomason. It wasn't always perfect, but they got value for money. And in the first few games, they're certainly getting that.
Let me just round out then, because we mentioned Louis Coyle's one right into the top corner there for Hull. Obviously, the big narrative last week was Wayne Rooney and everything going wrong for Plymouth. By all accounts, what I've heard from the Argyle fans, Sam, much better Plymouth this weekend. I mean, let's be fair, they couldn't have been much worse. I agreed with your sentiment, Sam, that, you know, you've got to leverage home park and the journey and take points down there. From a Hull point of view, bit frustration I sense from Tim Volter. He didn't say it in so many words, but my understanding or my translation of his post-match was the players aren't quite doing what he's asking them to yet in terms of the system. So I think Hull will be more frustrated. And I know, Sam, you have Wazza's back. He'll be really pleased to first goal, first point, and Sissoko, who we've been high on, got the goal. So anything to add on Plymouth and Hull?
I didn't see loads of it as of yet. I will do as the week goes on. But I saw the little video of him celebrating, and I'm in complete agreement that we need to just give Wayne Rooney time, and we have to recognise that this is someone who really wants to be a manager, and he's taken a bit of a gamble doing this, but you could see from his reaction, the elation. Sissoko already, I think, even in heavy, disastrous opening day defeat at Hillsborough, has shown something, hasn't he? And to get a goal this early, the Argyle fans can be really hopeful. I think that he can be another one to light up the Championship this season, as Whittaker did last year, and Mumba maybe to a lesser degree. But yeah, I think they can be optimistic now and excited, you know, given that they won in the cup, taking a point. And thankfully, we don't have to hear national papers and national radio and such like, you know, sticking the knives in, because, you know, I think we should all be keeping our fingers crossed that Wayne Rooney is going to be a good manager, because he was certainly probably the greatest player of my generation.
There we go. Right. You'll have noticed two things. We didn't go to cause for concern straight away. We haven't talked about Leeds United yet. Geez, Sam, full on meltdown on the Twitter timeline in midweek from my Leeds United friends who, I understand it, because end of last season was kind of tough, and I think they're ready to go. Rightly, I think, favourites to win the title, favourites with the bookies. I think we both had them winning the title. Okay, first game, you can kind of tick that one off and say it was a bit of a freak with the 3-3 draw, and, you know, made enough chances to win 5 games, didn't they, Leeds, on that day? But Archie Gray's already gone at this point. Chris Somerville, the Championship Player of the Year, has gone. And then in midweek, it was almost the timing of it, Sam, wasn't it? That you got a home game against a fellow Championship team, and it was a game that got loose and got away, where bang, 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 3 goals quickly, coupled with Jorginho Rutter, probably the next in line of Leeds cheat codes, being sold. And I think what infuriated the Leeds fans the most is that it was another clause. And Sam and I don't know the details, but it's a release clause for a fee that only seems to be a few million euros more than what they actually paid for him, which doesn't, I'm not a businessman, doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense to me. If you're going to stick a release clause in, you want to at least, you know that you're making some money out of it. 0-0 at the weekend at West Brom. Do you understand the Leeds fans being a little bit, oh my God, here we go again. We lost vital ground at the start of last season because of chaos off the pitch. And let's be frank, this clause is not the same as stupid clauses that say a player can elect to go on loan, just snap his fingers and disappear, and the club kind of make nothing out of it. But it's not ideal for Leeds. I think they'll make good on this, Sam. I do. I think we'll be sat here at the end of the window and it'll be okay. They've adjusted, they've pivoted. But do you understand the meltdown in midweek?
Yeah, I do. Because if you all of a sudden are 9 points or worse adrift maybe of the top sides in the division, Carl, that's a hell of a side that you're going to have to put together before the end of the window. And it's a hell of a run that they're going to have to go on at some point this season. So I do understand it. They need to get their act together and get some points on the board, get a win on the board. Clearly, the unhappiness probably stems to a degree from the players leaving at the end of the Premier League season on loan. How was that allowed to happen? My additional concern, if you like, would be Daniel Farke is a really good man manager. I think there's a lot to like about him, but I still do question him to a degree tactically.
We're at odds on this, you and I, aren't we? Yeah. I'm always defending him, and you're a bit more suspicious than me, right?
Well, I think he's improved players, and he's given players an opportunity last year. Like someone like Archie Gray's a great example, putting trust in him, and I'm sure a brilliant guy to work for. But if they had, in my eyes, like a really adept top tactician, then what I said a few moments ago, putting together a last minute team, if they are going to make some additions before the window, I'd be really confident that they could still do it. But yeah, there is just question mark still for me about him, I would say. But the problem at the moment is nothing to do with him. The problem is that they are light on numbers and they need depth. Some of the names, John Rowe, I put in already. Jack Clark, I think that's quite a strong rumour, who obviously was there once upon a time, and they're going to have to pay a fair, handsome fee to get him back. But I think he would. Is there anyone better maybe to play off that left-hand side than him? Question mark.
Chris Somerville.
Yeah, question marks as to whether Nonto will still be there in a few weeks' time. I know there's rumours about a few other players as well, so we don't know exactly how it's going to look. What I can be confident with, and I'm sure the Leeds fans are deep down, is that there's going to be some money spent and that this squad will be looking a lot different. He's talking about fullback, midfield, a wide player, I presume another centre forward as well. So there is quite a lot of surgery required. Not going to talk too much about Saturday's game, but 2 wins in 12 now for Leeds United.
Really?
And not scored.
Is that all comps? You're including cup and playoffs and
competitive games, putting the semis and the final in the mix there. 2 wins in 12, not scored in 7 of those games, if I've done that correctly this morning. Wow. I'm just saying there's a malaise from the back end of last season. Of course, that evaporates to a degree with a playoff defeat and a pre-season and a holiday and such like, and new signings. Of course, let's get that right. But I always felt, and I think I said it when we spoke at the end of the summer, an issue is going to be getting the best players in that squad refocused for another tilt at the Championship. And the players that remain, that are the ones that think, I'm going to be here, but I should be playing in the Premier League or La Liga or wherever. They're going to have to produce their best. Otherwise, Leeds aren't going to be able to keep pace with the top sides.
At what point, Sam, because there was a lot of sense last year that the Radrizzani ownership had gone and made loads of mistakes, and they came down with these silly contracts, and that clearly wasn't the 49ers group's fault or Daniel Farke's fault. We're now 1 year in, and I saw a lot of tweets as well to the effect saying, well, Ben, look, the 49ers have been around longer than you think as minority shareholders. Do they now start to be, the ones that are really taking responsibility for it? Or is there still a certain extent of they've only been in a year, this is not totally their club? Or is this just Leeds fans pointing frustration at where they can?
I don't know exactly where the blame is getting focused on now, but I think you just have to hold fire, don't you? And you just have to trust that the money's going to get reinvested and that the people that are making decisions are going to get a handle on it, and the issues and the problems that have been made in the last year or two don't be repeated. So I would just trust that they're going to look a lot different in a few weeks' time, and they're still going to be one of the strongest sides in the division. To load up on my point from earlier, they need to win a football match and need to get some points on the board, because if there is 8 points after 3 games between them and Burnley, for example, that's a problem, even if you're bringing in the top championship talent, which we understand they're probably going to go and get.
Amen. There we go. Might clip that one out. Just a quick public apology to Swansea City, a brilliant pick last week as our cause for concern. And they had a beautiful bounce back this week, didn't they, Sam? Beating Preston 3-0. I think you kind of poured water on it a little bit, that Luke Williams was maybe oversharing, and I think Preston was a good opponent, but nice bounce back for Swansea, and maybe this could be the role of the cause for concern this year. We set up a lovely, easy win the following week, yeah?
Yeah, there was a lovely goal in there as well, encapsulating exactly what Swansea want to be. Vipotnik, have I said that right? I think I've put my letters in the right order. Lovely goal. Unfortunate not to make the Worldie of the Week shortlist. I thought it was a really nicely crafted goal, and we'll have to wait and see when he has a few more minutes just how good he's going to be, because that is, for me, it is in any side, but it's incredibly important that Swansea have a focal point in that side. The Yates signing didn't work clearly last season. They need more goals to help young Cullen up there, who's game and is a really good finisher, but he needs a little bit of help. And yeah, some signings from different leagues across the globe. They need a little bit of time, and they go into a derby, don't they?
Derby,
this weekend, and obviously they've had some terrific results in recent times in this fixture, and they'll go in probably as favourites. I think if Swansea are at home, I can't remember where it is actually.
Swansea at home.
Swansea at home, they'll probably go in as favourites, but a resounding win. Was it Swansea really good, or was it Preston in early season disarray? Let's maybe leave that for another day.
That's a nice cliffhanger, Sam. We're going to move on to We Need to Talk About. And I want to chew Sam's ear off from a player's point of view about making a decisive mistake in a game that costs your team all 3 points. Because amazingly, we saw twice this round, and I'm not digging out these players because I'm a big fan of both Will Vaults and Isaiah Jones, but Will Vaults, back pass, crazy through ball, it turns out, to Hadji Wright, round he goes, Bosch. Stoppage time as well, and Coventry beat Oxford 3-2. Isaiah Jones much earlier in the game, but looking at the numbers, a game that Middlesbrough kind of dominated, and Derby get the win. Probably an even worse back pass this, because he's further back and he underhits it even more, and Caden Jackson does really well to go through and score. Sam, I'm going to assume that you, being the exemplary pro you were, never made such a mistake, but I'm sure you were on the pitch when somebody else did. What are you thinking? Because I suppose on the one side you got your team camaraderie that it's like, no, forget it, mate, block it out of your system and go. But particularly, say, for Oxford, where they've battled, probably should have lost the game in normal time, head it, kick it, all the defenders. And then Will Vaults, massively experienced player. Imagine you're in the striker's spot, you've done everything you need to, minute 95, and you see that happening. What's your reaction? What's the psychology? What goes back into the dressing room as well, Sam, when an error like that has thrown it for your team?
Depends if he's a mate of yours or not. Is the honest answer. I think if it's mistakes that are being made continually, if it's a repetitive mistake, then that becomes an issue, and
which is not with either of these players.
No, of course that can be problematic. Not naming names, but I played with a goalkeeper who made a few errors, and a few people attributed the club's real poor showing on that weak spot in the side. It was never my style, but it's a tough school. It's a tough place at times, a football dressing room. So I think that's the biggest one. Mistakes that aren't learned from I think Will Vaulks here was actually trying to pass it to Elliot Moore. I don't know. I haven't seen it loads of times. I think he misplaced the pass, just popping it back to the centre half. I don't think it was meant for the goalkeeper, but still, you know,
Would it be your style to go straight over to him and say, mate, forget it, get it? Or would you just let it breathe and let him process it?
I probably would. I don't know if it was always reciprocated in terms of, I remember making a few mistakes, and I mean, everyone's different. Used to just beat me up for days, you know, like a missed penalty, a missed glaring opportunity for days on end. And the contrast to that is when you scored. I was talking about it to someone the other day. When I scored on a Saturday, when things were good at Swindon during those 3 years, is the best example I can give. I didn't come down from the Saturday probably until the Tuesday. That's the honest truth. Sunday, you feel like you can walk on water. Monday, you get all the Monday papers. You walk into the training ground, everyone press-wise.
McMahon, yeah?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and the lads probably treat you a little bit differently as well. That's the industry and the environment I was in for 15, 20 years. You know, when you're winning the boys points and a few quid in bonus money on a Saturday, you're the top man, and that can't not affect your demeanor and how you feel internally. So, yeah, the other side of it was, you had some incredible lows, and that's why professional sport is such a different profession to anything else, because the highs and lows are so great during the career. You know, you want to draw the curtains and go away when you have a bad defeat. When you score, you want to have a good win. You want to tell the world about it. So, I used to take it badly, and it was always nice if players came and showed support. I think immediately in the dressing room, irrelevant of what the manager or the coaches were saying, if you had the support of your peers in that moment, that was a helpful thing. So I'm sure, because you're talking Vaulks, he's not someone that you'd associate with that, and Jones wouldn't invariably be in that position too often, would he, in a game? So that's probably a scenario that he's not faced with too often in each 90-minute game. So you can kind of understand that.
There you go. So some decisive mistakes this weekend, leading to goals and leading to defeats. That'll do for this weekend. I'm going to run through the fixtures for round 3, and I need you to tell me in the chat what your mouth-watering matchup is for the next week of football in the Championship. We have on TV on Friday, Sheffield Wednesday versus Leeds. It's Bristol City versus Coventry City, Hull versus Millwall, QPR versus Plymouth, Blackburn versus Oxford. It's Borough versus Pompey, Norwich versus Sheffield United, Preston versus Luton, Stoke West Brom, Sunderland versus Burnley, Watford versus Derby, and the big South Wales derby is Swansea versus Cardiff City. Get your thoughts in. Mouth-watering matchup. We're going to pick ours in 7 seconds. We are predictable here, Sam, and we find it hard whenever we get first versus second to ignore it, don't we? But to get it this early in the season, my God. And it gives us a chance to talk about bloody Sunderland as well. I mean, wow. No goals conceded, 2 wins. Everyone's raving and gooing about Sheffield Wednesday. Bosh, 4-0. And I'm seeing so many comments in the chat about the age of that team as well. And, okay, we're going to head into a long winter. Pitches get tough. Saturday, Tuesday. Maybe you do need your experienced head. But in August, these youngsters and Reggie Labrie are knocking it out of the park. Our mouth-watering matchup is Sunderland versus Burnley. Is someone going 3 for 3 here, Sam?
Mate, you're a traditionalist. No league table until after 3 games. Come on, mate.
I'm also a data guy, though, so I'm all over it. So you'll have to disagree with me on that one as well, fella.
I probably have no idea what the outcome of this game is going to be, but I concur. It's great to see Sunderland in this mould, not too dissimilar to what they were under Tony Mowbray when they were flying. 22 years and 9 months, I think, was the average age of the team that took
Entire
to the field.
11.
I think so, yeah. Do you know what? Yeah, I mean, I think it's around 22, the average age of the squad. So it is just incredible. I mean, I haven't done my maths there. I've probably made a mess of that. But yeah, it's an incredibly young squad, incredibly young side. Just 09, 29, Roberts 27. I mean, Roberts still feels like a youngster to me. He certainly looks like a youngster and plays like one, and 09 to a degree as well. But that is the solitary experience with Alan Brown missing at the weekend. So yeah, this is a brilliant result, a fantastic start to the season. I think Mayenda, not written off, but I don't think he's shown much prior to Saturday. So Sunday. Incredible strike, the first one. Loved that. Dispatched. Brilliant set piece, wasn't it, for Sirkin's goal?
That's a good one, that, wasn't it? I didn't see that coming. Yeah.
Yeah, really nicely worked. I think I read something today saying Michael Proctor, former teammate of mine, actually, has been heavily involved in the set pieces over the years at Sunderland, and obviously had a little bit of a chastening experience when he was number 2 to Dodds last season. So good to see him getting a little bit of credit, because you're going to need that amongst all the individual talent and creativity. We know what they can be when they've got Clark and Roberts in tandem, and this midfield trio. I mean, it's just incredible, isn't it? The age of these three down the spine of the side that are at the moment really, really flourishing. So huge test for them at the weekend. Not even spoke of the manager yet. All of a sudden, tactically, if you've questioned Sunderland over the last few seasons or during that really testing spell last year under Mick Beale, and then subsequently seem to have someone at the helm now who knows exactly what he's doing. He's certainly fielding a really exciting 11, and it could be a fantastic game, couldn't it? I think there'll be goals.
I like that it's at the Stadium of Light as well, because that is going to be, they are going to be well up for that, the Mackhams, aren't they? Yeah,
just to get some early season momentum, some positivity, and great that we've got, one of the most fancied sides going there, and this is clearly going to be a huge test of Burnley's credentials as well. So yeah, it's got the makings of a brilliant game. I'm sure Sunderland would probably still want to do some business out and above some of the other sides in the Championship who are maybe settled and done now. I think they'll still want to do a front player. I'd be fascinated if they don't. I know they are liable to pull a rabbit out of the hat, maybe like they have done over the last 12 months, but I think they'll probably go into the market again and maybe just strengthen. I don't know if it's in the remit to maybe add a little bit of experience, but we'll wait and see how that average age is looking in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, I think Sam wants it to go up just slightly, but we love it. It's a great, if you can pull that off, it's going to be incredible with the youngsters, isn't it? Sunderland versus Burnley. I'm going to annoy Sam and call it first against second one more time in the embryonic league table after 2 rounds. It's our mouth-watering matchup. Sam, it is quiz time, and it is week 2 of 6 of the best. I think we drew last week, didn't we? Was it 2 out? Did we both get
2 each, wasn't it, mate? Yeah.
2 each. Do you want to ask me first this week? We'll flip it around. And as ever, big thanks to our good mate, Fev, who was putting it in there, wasn't he? As soon as that Mayulu goal went in, he was telling us to check. I think he's influenced the worldie of the week there, but he deserves it for all his hard work. Anyway, what is my question? Fev's Football Analytics on Twitter.
Okay, mate. Your question is, can you name 3 of the 6 teams that have had the least shots this season so far in the league only? So 3 of the 6 teams that have had the least shots in the league so far this season.
Is there going to be a rogue one? Is like Burnley going to be in there after your stat earlier, even though they're top of the table?
There is a rogue one in there, and they're actually bottom, I would say. Maybe not results wise, but certainly in terms of how much they're fancied.
I don't think Oxford United have had many shots. Oxford, is that the rogue?
It's not rogue, but that's 1 from 1.
Yes.
15 shots.
What's the rogue one then? It's got to be one of the parachute teams, hasn't it?
No, it's not rogue. I was a little bit surprised to see them at the foot, but when I say it, I don't think you'll be astonished.
Hull City.
No, they're not in it. Not in there. 1 from 2 then.
Okay. I'm trying to think of this rogue.
How many guesses am I giving you here?
I'll get 6 guesses.
Okay.
Derby County.
Derby are there. They're second. Well, they're joint bottom with 12 shots.
Okay.
So it's 1 from 3.
Or maybe Preston then, because they've stunk it out, haven't they?
Preston are in there with 16 shots, just above Oxford. So that's 2 from 4.
Okay.
2 to go.
Is Luton the surprising one?
Luton are not in there.
Oh,
so
damn.
2 from 5. Last guess for the point.
Just because they're bottom of the table, I'll go for Cardiff.
Cardiff are not in there. 2
What's
from 6.
the rogue one then, Sam?
So you've got Stoke have had the most of this with 17.
Mm-hmm.
Then Swansea, 16. You didn't get either of those, did you?
No.
Preston, you did. Oxford, Derby County, and West Bromwich Albion.
West Brom. Dearie me. The chat is saying.
Sorry, you got 3. You got 3, mate. Sorry,
3.
you got Preston, Oxford, Derby, didn't you? 3.
Brilliant. Okay, I think you know where this is going, Sam. Hot shots and not shots. Can you name 3 of the 6 teams with the most shots? You got a bit of an advantage here because you know what the bottom 6 are, don't you?
Yeah,
so any of those teams.
Considering I watched the highlights of Derby Middlesbrough this morning, I would have to go for Middlesbrough.
Your Middlesbrough are top as well. So you got the number 1. 1 for 1.
Okay, on the basis of the weekend, Bristol City?
Just. They're 6th. Yeah, 2 for 2.
So Millwall?
Millwall are not there.
Are they not?
3. No.
Are they not? That's surprising.
Despite the 4-3 and the 3-2.
I know it was rubbish in the first. Watford?
Yes, Watford are there. So with the rules of this game, this week is going to be a draw because you have to try and get 3 from 6 guesses, and we've both got the 3. But see if you can get the moral win. You've got 2 guesses left.
Blackburn, given what I said earlier?
No. 1 more left.
Who did they? They're quite fun, aren't they? Where did they play opening day? I don't think I can't go for them because they've.
No one knows what you're thinking, Sam, when you just say them.
No, no, I can't think of another team on the spot. I'm going to go for. They didn't have any shots, did they? What about Sheffield Wednesday, just for what they did against Plymouth?
It's good. It's very good. Yeah, they're second in that table. Yeah.
Really?
Well, Sheffield Wednesday did it all in one game, didn't they? So, yeah, good. So, I mean, you get the moral victory, Sam, but it is a draw.
I'll take that.
So, Middlesbrough are top with 36 shots. Sheffield Wednesday, 32. Watford, some lads were screaming in the chat. There we go. I think, Morgan was calling out Sheffield Wednesday as well. Coventry, you didn't get, I don't think, did you? And you didn't get Leeds United, who had a million shots against Pompey.
Norwich were going to be my other one.
No, well, you got Bristol City, who were the 6th one there. Right, there we go. That is the Championship check-in podcast for round 2. We are about to film the predictions, so check that out. We'll pop that out on Wednesday. Thank you for all the support. View numbers here on YouTube, download numbers, really, really good. So get all of that stuff. Get promoted, tell your friends, and download us on audio, even if you watch us on YouTube as well. Sam, last word from you. You're off to watch Leicester and Spurs, is that right?
Yeah, Leicester Spurs tonight. So, it was across your mob on the weekend as well, Ipswich. I think it's no surprises really in the top tier to this point. But, good game to finish the weekend. And looking ahead to next weekend in a championship. I didn't realise, kind of derby day, isn't it? Well, Sheffield Wednesday, Leeds, and Swansea, Cardiff to get excited about. What else we got? Stoke, West Brom. That's not a million miles apart either, is it? So some brilliant fixtures to look forward to over the next 7-8 days.
Brilliant stuff. See you next week.